Hi students, myself Satish Kumar Kondidala, Assistant Professor, School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Vignan Foundation for Science, Technology, Research, Guntur. In previous video, we discussed about the chemistry of antihypertensive agents. In that, we discussed about the introduction to hypertension, so how it is produced, so what is the pathways which are leading to producing the hypertension. In the same way, we are discussing about the chemistry of some of the antihypertensive agents. In this video, we are going to discuss about the remaining antihypertensive agents. After watching this video, student can able to understand the chemistry, metabolic pathways, and adverse effects of these antihypertensive drugs. They can also know the mode of action, structural activity relationship of the selected antihypertensive drugs. The contents of this video includes mechanism of action, structural activity relationship, adverse drug effects of antihypertensive drugs like angiotensin receptor inhibitors or antagonists, direct renin inhibitors, centrally acting sympatholytics, drugs acting on or inhibiting the peripheral nerve endings or nerves, alpha adrenergic blockers. As we know that some of the pathways which are leading to production of the hypertension. So in previous class we discussed about the renin angiotensin system, or it is also called as renin angiotensin aldosterone system. In that we discussed about how the hypertension is produced. The renin which is produced from the kidney cells due to the action of sympathetic neurotransmitters, the renin will be produced from the kidney cells, and this released renin will convert the angiotensin which is produced by the pulmonary and kidney cells into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1. And this will be converted to angiotensin 2 by the action of angiotensin converting enzyme. So then after this angiotensin 2 will act on different type of angiotensin receptors, that is AT1, AT2, like that. So when the angiotensin will bind to the angiotensin receptor 1, then it can able to show the different type of actions like increasing the sodium reabsorption, cardiac hypertrophy, vasoconstriction, etc. So this type of actions can be produced by the angiotensin 2 at angiotensin receptor 1. So this is the pathway which may lead to the different type of actions which can able to produce the hypertension. So these all actions may lead to develop the hypertension condition. Some of the drugs, in previous class we already discussed about the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. So they can bind to this angiotensin converting enzyme and inhibit the angiotensin converting enzyme action. So thereby the conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2 is inhibited. Okay, thereby there is no this type of actions at angiotensin receptor 1, and that doesn't lead to hypertension. In the next class of antihypertensive agents are nothing but angiotensin receptor antagonist. So that means, so these drugs will inhibit the binding of angiotensin 2 to the angiotensin receptor. So particularly angiotensin receptor 1. So examples of this class of drugs are losartan, valsartan, irbesartan, candesartan, telmisartan. So these drugs are also classified according to their chemical nature. So the losartan, valsartan, irbesartan consisting of the tetrazole moiety along with the imidazole ring. And in case of candesartan and telmisartan, so instead of imidazole ring, it consisting of benzimidazole ring and only the candacetan having the tetrazole moiety in the structure. But in case of telmisartan, there is no tetrazole ring is present in the structure. Let me see the chemical structures of these drugs. So first one is a losartan. When you see in the chemical structure of losartan, it consisting of a imidazole ring. So this one is a imidazole ring, and this imidazole ring is attached to the biphenyl structure. So there is a biphenyl moiety, and one of the phenyl ring in the biphenyl moiety is substituted with tetrazole ring. So this is the chemical structure of losartan. So the losartan consisting of imidazole ring, and this imidazole ring is attached to the biphenyl moiety with the methyl bridge, and this biphenyl ring, so in one of the ring it is attached to the tetrazole ring. Okay, and when seen this imidazole ring, so at the second position it consisting of is alkyl chain. At the second position it consisting of the alkyl chain, that is a CH2 CH3. So that is a alkyl chain, and at the fourth position consisting of the chlorine substitution. And so in case of irbesartan, instead of imidazole ring, it consisting of a diazospiro moiety, and this diazospiro ring is attached to the diphenyl ring with the methyl bridge, and one of the ring of diphenyl moiety is attached to the tetrazole ring. So there is a chemical structure of irbesartan. And when you see in the chemical structure of valsartan, so it consisting of a diphenyl ring, and so one of the diphenyl ring is attached to the tetrazole moiety, and instead of imidazole ring, it is having the dicarboxylate group. One of the carboxylate group having the alkyl chain. When you see in the chemical structure of candacetan, it consisting of a benzimidazole ring, and this benzimidazole ring is attached to the diphenyl group. So that is a diphenyl group, and one of the ring of diphenyl moiety is substituted with tetrazole moiety. And the same way, when you see in the chemical structure of telmisartan, the telmisartan doesn't having any tetrazole moiety in its structure, but it is having the benzoic acid and two benzimidazole groups are present in the chemical structure of telmisartan. So here we can see the mechanism of action in case of angiotensin receptor antagonist. So when these drugs will act on the angiotensin receptor, and it can blocks the binding of angiotensin 2 on the angiotensin 1 receptor. Thereby they can inhibit the actions like releasing the aldosterone and sodium reabsorption. In case of vasculature, they can inhibit the vasoconstriction, and in CNS they can inhibit the release of neurotransmitters. That means like norepinephrine, epinephrine, the type of neurotransmitters release is blocked, and they can reduce the release of antidiuretic hormone. And in case of heart, they can prevent the cardiac hypertrophy and fibrosis. So these are the actions of angiotensin receptor antagonist. So I repeating once again. So when there is a presence of angiotensin receptor antagonist, and this can inhibit the binding of angiotensin onto the angiotensin 1 receptor, thereby the ultimate actions of angiotensin 1 receptors all will be blocked, and this may lead to maintain the hypertension condition. That means, so we can reduce the hypertension and we can maintain the normal blood pressure. So this is the another way of representing the mechanism of action in case of angiotensin receptor antagonist. So when you see in the chemical structure of angiotensin 2, so the angiotensin 2 is the one of the protein. So it is having composition of amino acids like arginine, leucine, isoleucine, tyrosine, histidine, proline, phenylalanine, and aspartic acid. So these are the different type of amino acids. So the composition of all these amino acids are seen in the chemical composition of angiotensin 2. And when you see in the structural activity relationship of these angiotensin receptor antagonists, the components or the pharmacophores or the different functional groups which are present in the basic structure of angiotensin receptor antagonist will mimic some of the sites of angiotensin 2, Thereby these resemblance functional groups are useful to bind with the angiotensin receptor 1. So when you see in this, there is a binding is occurred between the angiotensin 2 and angiotensin receptor 1. So due to the same resemblance or due to the some of the components which are matched with the angiotensin 2, these drugs, that is a angiotensin receptor antagonist, will form the bonds with angiotensin receptor 1 as same as that of the angiotensin 2. Okay, so these are the some functional groups which are resembling the chemical nature of or chemical structures of or the chemical components of angiotensin 2. Thereby they can form the bonds with the components of angiotensin receptor 1. Okay, so let us see some of the components, how they can or how they plays the major role in binding with the angiotensin receptor 1. In case of alkyl side chain, which is attached to the imidazole ring, and this is resembling the histidine side chain which is present in case of angiotensin 2. So thereby it shows the same action as that of the angiotensin 2 and it can able to bind with the angiotensin receptor 1. In case of substitution at the second position to this imidazole ring, so the substitutions like either it is a carboxylic acid or any ketones, and that can able to form the ionic or dipole-dipole interactions with that of the angiotensin 1 receptor. And the acidic group which is attached to the ring of diphenyl moiety, which is essential for showing the potent activity of this angiotensin receptor antagonist. So the acidic group which is present or which is substituted to the one of the ring of diphenyl moiety, so like tetrazole or carboxylic acid. So this type of groups, so acidic groups like tetrazole or carboxylic acid groups, so these are very much essential to increasing the potency of these compounds. As I said that there are three most important functional groups so that are useful to binding the angiotensin receptor instead of angiotensin 2. The first one is imidazole ring. And this can able to bind the amino acids which are present in the 7th helix of angiotensin receptor. So here we can see the interactions of imidazole ring with that of the amino acids which are present in the 7th helix of angiotensin receptor. And the second functional group is nothing but diphenyl group. So there is a diphenyl group and which can able to form the interaction with 6th and 7th helix of the angiotensin receptor. It can able to form the interactions with 6th and 7th helix of the angiotensin receptor. And the third functional group is nothing but tetrazole group or tetrazole ring, and which can able to form the interaction with the 4th and 5th helix of this angiotensin receptor. So these are the three functional groups which are required to form the interactions with the different helix of the angiotensin 1 receptor. When the interactions are increased, then the binding interaction with this receptor is increased, and thereby they can commutatively inhibit the binding of angiotensin 2 on this receptor. And in this way, these drugs will inhibit the binding of angiotensin 2 on angiotensin 1 receptor. The lipophilic substitutions like alkyl groups, so are the alkyl side chain at the second position of imidazole ring, is required to bind in the active hydrophobic pocket of the receptor. So alkyl side chain or alkyl substitution is required at the second position of imidazole ring, which is essential to bind with the active hydrophobic pocket of this angiotensin receptor 1. And some of the acidic groups like tetrazole or carboxylic acid at the first position of the biphenyl methyl group, and they can increase the potency of a particular compound. So the presence of acidic groups like tetrazole, carboxylic acid or trifluoroaminosulfoxyl groups at the first position of diphenyl ring will increase the potency of that particular compound. So they can increase the potency of that particular compound. And this is about the structural activity relationship of angiotensin receptor antagonist. Here I highlighting the points which are present in the SIR of angiotensin receptor antagonist. First one is there are three important functional groups are present, and these functional groups are required to form interactions with the angiotensin receptor. First one is the imidazole ring. Imidazole ring, and this ring is required to form the interactions with 7th helical structure of angiotensin receptor. And second one is a diphenyl moiety. Second one is a diphenyl moiety, and this can able to form the interaction with 6th and 7th position, and can able to form the interactions with 6th and 7th helical structure of the receptor. And third one is the tetrazole ring, so which is present at the first position of this diphenyl moiety, and which can able to form the interactions with 4th and 5th helical structure of the receptor. And this tetrazole ring or any substitutions like carboxyl or trifluoroaminosulfoxyl groups will increasing the potency of that particular compound. And this is about the structural activity relationship of angiotensin receptor antagonist. The angiotensin receptor antagonist can able to produce the adverse effects like hypotension, acute renal failure, hyperkalemia, problems during the pregnancy, dizziness, weakness, headache, cold, flu-like symptoms. And coming to the pharmacological uses of these drugs, so they are generally used in the treatment of hypertension as an alternative to that of the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. And next classification is direct renin inhibitors. Direct renin inhibitors. So under this class, only one of the drug which is available in the market, that is a alascarin, and here we can see the chemical structure of alascarin. So alascarin will inhibit the renin. So as we know that the renin is a proteolytic enzyme which is produced from the kidney against the stimulation of sympathetic neurotransmitters, and it can also be released by the actions like hypotension, decreased sodium delivery to the distal renal tubule, and by the inhibition of this renin, so we can get the vasodilation action. Here we can see the mechanism of action in case of direct renin inhibitors. So when the direct renin inhibitors will block the release of renin from the kidney cells, and this is not available for converting the angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. So when the renin is inhibited, so it is not converting the angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Thereby it is not able to convert it into angiotensin 2, and that may lead to controlling the hypertension condition. And here we can see the adverse effects of direct renin inhibitors. They are nothing but dyspepsia, loose motions, headache, dizziness, hypotension, hyperkalemia, cough, angioedema. And these drugs are contraindicated in pregnancy. That means in case of pregnancy, these drugs are avoided. Next classification is the centrally acting sympatholytics. Examples are methyldopa, clonidine, guanabens, guanafacin. So here we can see the chemical nature of these drugs. Clonidine is having the imidazole ring, guanabens and guanafacin consisting of guanine molecule. Here we can see the chemical structures of methyldopa, clonidine. So methyldopa consisting of a dihydroxyphenyl group which is attached to the alanine ethyl ester. In case of clonidine, it consisting of a dichlorophenyl and which is attached to the imidazole through amine group. And in case of guanabens, it consisting of a guanine molecule, so that means triamine groups, and this guanine molecule is attached to the dichlorophenyl, and this guanine molecule is attached to the dichlorophenyl through tertiary amine. In case of guanafensine, it consisting of guanine molecule and which is attached to the dichlorophenyl through carbonyl group. When you see the mechanism of action of these centrally acting sympatholytic agents, these drugs will stimulate the alpha 2 receptors, thereby they can decreasing the neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. Thereby they can able to produce the actions like decreasing heart rate, decreasing cardiac output. In the same way, they can also reducing the production of renin. When you see in the actions of methyl dopa, so it will stimulate the alpha 2 receptor, so due to the presence of methyl group, and that stimulation may lead to the decreasing of concentration of the neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine in the CNS and periphery, and that may lead to the antihypertensive action. In addition, it inhibits the dopa decarboxylase, so that is one of the enzymes which will convert the dopa to dopamine, thereby it decreases the sympathetic neurotransmitter synthesis. And it can also inhibit the release of renin from the kidney cells and shows some direct effect on the blood vessels. That means it reduces the release of the renin from the kidneys and also produces the vasoconstriction action in vasculature. In case of clonidine, when the clonidine binding and stimulate the alpha 2 receptor, it can reduce the release of norepinephrine and decreasing the sympathetic outflow to the heart, kidney and peripheral vasculature. And guanafensine is the one of the structural analog of this clonidine, and it is also producing the similar action as that of the clonidine. Next one is the drugs affecting the peripheral sympathetic nerves. Examples are reserpine, guanethidine, guanadrel. So reserpine comes under the miscellaneous drugs, and guanethidine and guanadrel comes under the guanine derivatives. Guanethidine and guanadrel, so both are having the guanine nucleus in their structure. And when you see in the mechanism of action in case of reserpine, it depletes the norepinephrine in sympathetic neurons and epinephrine in the adrenal medulla by acting on thalamus and midbrain. And it can also deplete the storage sites of serotonin and dopamine in sympathetic neurons. And coming to the pharmacological uses of this reserpine, so it is used as the antihypertensive and tranquilizer, and this can able to produce the wide range of adverse effects. Guanethidine and guanadrel will show the actions by blocking the peripheral sympathetic nerve endings, and they can able to deplete the storage sites of norepinephrine in sympathetic neurons. And coming to the uses of guanethidine, this guanethidine is used in the treatment of hypertension and glaucoma, and the guanadrel is used in the treatment of mild to moderate hypertension. Next one is alpha-adrenergic blockers. Examples are prazosin, terazosin and doxazosin. When you see in the chemical structures of prazosin, terazosin and doxazosin, they consisting of quinazoline ring in their chemical structure. Along with this quinazoline ring, it is also having piperazine derivative. And the basic difference between the prazosin and terazosin is nothing but, so when you see in the furan ring, so which is attached to this piperazine ring through the carbonyl moiety, this in case of terazosin, there is a saturation of this furan ring. So, but in case of prazosin, it is unsaturated. And when you see the mechanism of action in case of prazosin, so it will selectively blocking the alpha 1 receptor which is present in the peripheral blood vessels, and that may lead to the vasodilation. So the prazosin will selectively blocking the alpha 1 receptors which are present in the blood vessels, and thereby it can producing the vasodilation action. And coming to the adverse drug actions of this prazosin, it produces the postural hypotension, syncope, drowsiness, headache, nasal congestion. And it will be used in the treatment of moderate to severe hypertension combination with beta blocker and diuretic. Terazosin is similar to the prazosin. It shows the higher bioavailability due to the changes in their chemical structure. And coming to the pharmacological use of terazosin, which is generally used in the treatment of benign prostatic hyperplasia and also used in the treatment of mild to moderate hypertension. So this is about the drugs which are comes under the antihypertension agents, and remaining drugs like calcium channel blockers, beta blockers and diuretics we already discussed in previous classes. I hope there is no need to discuss once again all these drugs. The same discussion is concerning to the antihypertensive agents. So up to now we discussed about the chemistry, mechanism of action, structural activity relationship of angiotensin receptor antagonist, direct renin inhibitors, centrally acting sympatholytics, drugs affecting peripheral neurons, and alpha-2 blockers. In next class, we are going to discuss about the synthesis, properties, and pharmacological uses of some important antihypertensive drugs. Thank you.